Google and Facebook employ some of the best cybersecurity teams on Earth. They spend billions of dollars building digital fortresses, designing custom defense networks, and hunting for zero-day exploits. Yet one man, sitting at a computer in Eastern Europe, convinced them to send him more than $120 million voluntarily. He did not hack their servers. He did not break their encryption. He did not write a single line of malicious code. He simply sent them bills. This is the story of how the oldest trick in the history of fraud was weaponized against the smartest companies in the world, and how an empire of digital security was bypassed by a fake signature and a forged stamp. To understand how Evaldas Rimasauskas pulled off one of the most audacious corporate heists of the modern era, you have to look past the firewalls and the data centers. You have to look at how massive corporations actually spend their money. Tech giants do not just exist in the cloud. They require immense physical infrastructure. To keep their global platforms running, companies like Google and Facebook rely on international supply chains, purchasing billions of dollars worth of servers, cooling systems, processors, and hardware components every single year. Because of this immense scale, their accounting departments process thousands of complex, multi-million-dollar invoices every month. For the financial clerks sitting in California, authorizing a $10 million wire transfer to an overseas hardware supplier is not an anomaly. It is a daily, heavily automated routine. Evaldas Rimasauskas recognized that this administrative routine was a blind spot. If he tried to attack the tech giants through their network perimeters, he would trigger alarms and be caught immediately. But if he could disguise himself as a routine administrative task, he could walk right through the front door. He just needed the right disguise. He found it in a company called Quanta Computer. Quanta is a massive, highly respected hardware manufacturer based in Taiwan. They are a cornerstone of the global tech supply chain, actively building and shipping vital server infrastructure directly to Silicon Valley. Month after month, Quanta supplies physical hardware, and month after month, Google and Facebook pay their massive invoices. Rimasauskas could not intercept the physical hardware, but he realized he could intercept the money. In 2013, the operation began. Rimasauskas did not launch a digital intrusion. He built a paper illusion. He traveled to the Republic of Latvia and legally registered a corporate entity. He named this new shell company Quanta Computer. To anyone quickly reviewing international corporate registry documents, the Latvian company appeared to share the exact same name as the legitimate Taiwanese hardware titan. With the corporate entity officially established, Rimasauskas needed a financial vault capable of receiving and moving massive sums of international capital. He approached various banks in Latvia and Cyprus to open corporate accounts under the Quanta Computer name. But European banks do not hand over corporate accounts simply because someone asks. To prepare an account capable of receiving tens of millions of dollars, the banks demanded physical proof of identity, operational history, and executive authorization. Rimasauskas manufactured all of it. He and his co-conspirators built an industrial-scale forgery operation. They drafted fake contracts mimicking the complex legal language of international hardware procurement. They created fraudulent invoices billing for the exact types of servers and components the tech giants regularly purchased. They forged the physical signatures of top-tier Quanta executives. They even designed and applied fake corporate stamps to make the documents look formally authenticated. When the bankers in Eastern Europe reviewed the paperwork, the forged contracts and executive signatures appeared entirely legitimate. The accounts were approved and opened. Rimasauskas now had a bucket to catch the money. But to make the tech giants pour the funds, he had to completely hijack the identity of the Taiwanese manufacturer. The most critical forgery in the entire operation was a formal letter of instruction. This drafted letter stated that Quanta Computer was updating its international banking logistics. It instructed the accounting departments at Google and Facebook that, moving forward, all payments should no longer be wired to the manufacturer's traditional bank accounts in Asia. Instead, the funds were to be sent directly to the newly established corporate accounts in Europe. In late 2013, the trap was deployed. Rimasauskas utilized spoofed email addresses, visually designed to look as if they were originating directly from the official corporate domain of the Taiwanese manufacturer. He targeted the specific employees working inside the accounting departments of the Silicon Valley giants. Attached to these spoofed emails were the forged contracts, the fake invoices, and the newly updated banking instructions. The emails effortlessly bypassed the multi-million-dollar cybersecurity filters because they contained no malware, no malicious links, and no executable code. They arrived directly in the inboxes of the financial clerks. Everything hinged on this single administrative checkpoint. A clerk opened the email. They reviewed the attached paperwork. The vendor name perfectly matched a trusted, high-volume supplier. The invoices detailed hardware that fit the exact profile of the equipment their company was currently buying. The banking update letter featured official-looking corporate stamps and executive signatures. The documentation appeared absolutely flawless. Operating entirely within standard administrative procedures, the clerk updated the vendor's banking details in the internal system and approved the request. The authorization moved rapidly through the internal hierarchy. No security alarms were triggered. No defense protocols blocked the action. A wire transfer was initiated. Millions of dollars left a highly secure corporate account, shot across the globe, and landed directly in a Latvian bank account controlled by Evaldas Rimasauskas. The transfer went through. A lone fraudster had just bypassed a billion-dollar security infrastructure using nothing more than a well-crafted lie. But it was not just one transfer. The first success proved that the methodology was completely invisible to the corporate defense systems. Over the next 2 years, the operation expanded aggressively. A relentless series of fraudulent invoices targeted both Google and Facebook. Month after month, the spoofed emails arrived. Month after month, the accounting departments processed the requests. Month after month, massive fortunes were wired straight into Eastern Europe. To ensure the receiving banks did not freeze the sudden influx of millions, Rimasauskas stayed one step ahead. Every time a massive payment arrived, he handed the bank managers fake letters from Silicon Valley executives, falsely explaining that the money was for legitimate corporate services. The banks accepted the illusion, and the money cleared. Between 2013 and 2015, Rimasauskas systematically siphoned cash from 2 of the most profitable companies on the planet. The scale of the deception was staggering. He successfully extracted over $98 million from Google. He simultaneously extracted more than $23 million from Facebook. More than $120 million had vanished from the balance sheets of Silicon Valley. But moving $120 million leaves a massive financial footprint. As soon as the funds landed in Latvia and Cyprus, a rapid laundering operation began. The massive deposits were immediately fragmented into smaller transactions. The stolen funds were wired rapidly across a complex labyrinth of international borders. The money bounced into bank accounts in Slovakia, funneled into Lithuania, moved to Hungary, and shot across the globe to shell companies in Hong Kong. The goal was to create a tangled financial web, washing the money into untraceable assets before an inevitable corporate audit uncovered the truth. Eventually, the massive financial discrepancy was detected. The public record does not reveal the exact internal moment when the fraud was discovered by the tech giants. But the outcome became a matter of public record. When the legitimate supplier inevitably requested their missing payments, the illusion shattered. Internal audits at Google and Facebook immediately flagged the irregularities. The companies pulled their ledgers and realized They had been wiring tens of millions of dollars to fraudulent accounts in Europe, while their legitimate supplier in Taiwan remained unpaid. They had not been hacked. They had been deceived. The companies instantly alerted federal authorities, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation launched a massive international inquiry. The FBI did not need to trace a complex cyber attack through the dark web. The money that made Rimasauskas rich became the exact thread that led investigators right to his door. Working with authorities across Europe, federal agents from New York began untangling the web of wire transfers. They worked backward from the shell accounts in Hong Kong, Hungary, and Slovakia. Applying immense international pressure, the FBI forced foreign banks to open their confidential ledgers, handing over transaction logs and account registration documents. The financial forensics cut straight through the laundering maze. The paper trail led directly back to the initial shell company in Latvia. When investigators forced the Latvian banks to surrender the original application dossiers used to open the fraudulent accounts, the entire scheme unraveled. Inside those folders were the forged contracts used to trick the bank. But more importantly, the files contained the underlying registration documents for the Latvian shell company. Those documents pointed directly to a single name: Evaldas Rimasauskas. Furthermore, cyber investigators analyzed the digital footprints left behind by the spear phishing campaign. They traced the spoofed emails and analyzed the originating IP addresses. The digital evidence aligned perfectly with the physical banking records. The authorities moved aggressively. The FBI worked closely with international regulators to freeze the accounts holding the fragmented funds. It was a race against time to lock down tens of millions of dollars before the assets could be completely liquidated or moved beyond the reach of Western law enforcement. With the money frozen and the evidence secured, a grand jury in New York indicted the Lithuanian fraudster, and law enforcement closed in. In March of 2017, local authorities in Lithuania apprehended Rimasauskas in the capital city of Vilnius, acting on a provisional arrest warrant requested by the United States. The man who had successfully tricked Silicon Valley out of a fortune now faced federal criminal charges. He fought his extradition fiercely in the Lithuanian courts, attempting to block his transfer to the United States. But the physical and digital evidence gathered by investigators was overwhelming. The forged vendor contracts, the fake corporate stamps, the detailed bank records, the original account applications, and the international wire confirmations provided an irrefutable map of the fraud. The court ruled against him. In August of 2017, Rimasauskas lost his final legal battle. He was extradited to the United States and stood before a federal judge in New York. Faced with the sheer volume of evidence against him, he eventually capitulated. In 2019, he officially pleaded guilty to 1 count of wire fraud. During the sentencing, the true scale of the law enforcement response became clear. Because the tech giants had detected the fraud and alerted authorities before the funds completely vanished, the United States government and the victimized companies were able to successfully recover a significant portion of the stolen capital. But Rimasauskas still faced the consequences for the millions that were lost. The federal judge sentenced him to 60 months in a United States prison. He was also ordered by the court to officially forfeit nearly $50 million in ill-gotten gains. The Evaldas Rimasauskas case remains one of the most extraordinary corporate scams ever uncovered, not because of its technological sophistication, but because of its absolute absence of it. It exposed a fundamental truth about modern security. A corporation can build the most advanced digital perimeter on Earth. They can employ thousands of engineers, mandate complex passwords, and monitor their networks 24 hours a day. But as long as human beings are required to process the paperwork, the system will always have a blind spot. The heist proved that the most devastating entry point into a multi-billion-dollar empire is rarely a zero-day exploit or a sophisticated malware infection. Sometimes, the ultimate weapon is just a fake invoice, a forged stamp, and an administrative routine. If there's an extraordinary true story you'd love to hear on this channel, tell us about it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this one, leave a like, join the channel, and stay with us for more incredible true stories.